Well, I'm here now with Gil Forcade with
Hi.
Gibraltar Mortgage. We want to highlight really another piece of the partnership that Better Homes and Gardens Gary Green has with one of our partners in Gibraltar. So important to come in the office, see you working with clients all the time, and just really, I think something that I wanted to share with folks. So, why don't you take a minute, introduce yourself and your background,
Uh,
and then we're going to talk especially about veterans VA loans today.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah, my name is Gil Forcade, and I've been in the business for, God, I think it's over 24 years. So it's been a while.
Mm.
And it just seems like it's gone kind of fast. I kind of fell into this just by accident, and I've loved it, and I've been doing it ever since. So helping people, especially veterans, it really makes a big, big difference in our life. It's not just them, but, it's just the fact that they've shared so much for
Hmm.
us, and
Right.
we can give back by helping them, with programs that we've got.
Right. No, I see that as well, and you've helped me with, um, getting a veteran in a home and all the benefits of that, things to look out for. It's been very helpful. And one of the things that I noticed about some of the information you gave me was the mission statement, and that was to help veterans obtain, retain, and modify their homes. And there's a lot to be said in that because I know there's some myths, but can you just give us an overview of how does a person even qualify for a veteran's loan
Well,
or
first of all,
VA
they've got
loan?
to be, certainly have to be a veteran. They have to have
Mm.
been served in the armed services for a while. They have to get, they'll have a DD 214, which is a discharge paper. They can actually still be in the service and qualified, but they'll
Mm.
have a what they call a certificate of eligibility,
Okay,
which
I've heard of
tells us
that.
how much they're eligible for. And it's quite lenient. It is not as, it's not as strict as people would think, like this is all that I, because it's based
Mm.
on the county area, what the income is, what the conventional rate is, and all that. So they use a
Okay.
number that that the ratios fit in that way.
Okay.
Anyway,
And they would have access to this or COE, I've heard, right?
yep, right.
They would know what that is or be able to look it up.
They know what it is, but they've made it so much easier in the last, I would say, year to 2 years, couple of years. It's become so much easier to where we can actually go on and get the COE for them.
Oh.
It used to be they'd have to go down and go and wait in line and take forever, and which was horrible. And
Mm-hmm.
then they weren't sure if they were going to get their letter or not. Now we can
Mm.
actually get it for them just with their information, and because the VA's working hard to help them out, make it a lot smoother and easier transition.
Okay. Okay. So if someone qualifies and they're able to get a VA loan, what really are the benefits? I mean, I know a little bit, it always seems like it's better interest rates, but there's more than just
Right.
better interest
Right.
rates, right?
It is better interest rates. It a lot more lenient underwriting, which really helps
Mm.
the veteran. They do everything they can to help them get in. Big one is zero down. They don't have to have a
Uh,
down payment. So that's probably the biggest, a
benefit.
benefit because what they were doing is when they first started the program was when they would come back from
Mm-hmm.
serving, from
Mm-hmm.
war, from wherever it was, they'd come back and they were, it's like, what am I going to do? I've been out, away from, a regular
Mm-hmm.
job, and how am I going to get into a house?
Yeah.
So they're trying to make it easy for them, and that's why there's zero down payment. Another big benefit is no MI, no mortgage insurance, which if when you
Mm-hmm.
when to get rid of mortgage insurance in a conventional loan, you have to put at least 20% down.
20%. Right.
But with a veteran with zero down, they still have no MI. And the beautiful thing is it helps them qualify for more house by
Mm.
not having that MI as part of their debt ratio.
Okay. Okay.
So
Okay.
those are definitely some of the benefits.
Now, what are some of the things they have to, you know, um, say a seller that's going to accept someone that has a VA loan versus conventional? What are some of the things that the seller might need to appreciate because you still want the house, you got to have the house inspected, it's got to appraise,
Sure.
that's not different from a
It's no
conventional.
different than from any loan at all. The house has got to appraise,
Hmm.
all right, and for at least the sales price or more
Hmm.
for it, to be able to work. Otherwise, they'll have to negotiate down,
Hmm.
whatever. there's really no kind of some of the myths that were out there was that I don't want to do a VA loan because I've got to pay for all these charges for the veteran, and
Right.
that's no longer something that they've got to worry about because
Mhm.
it's the veteran's able to pay for many of their own services that in the past they weren't, and it makes it
Mhm.
easier for them to be able to qualify and for a seller to say, listen, I'm going to open my arms to anybody,
Right. Right. Right.
to a veteran, to FHA loan, to a conventional
Right.
loan.
Right.
So they don't have to worry about that anymore. The only thing that they need to be aware as a seller is that the house has to be in good shape. In other
Yeah.
words, in shape where, which is understandable. It
Well, and
can't
it
have
should be if you're gonna get ready
rotten
to sell
wood,
it.
can't have rotten wood, and can't have
Mhm.
termites and things like
Mhm.
that of that
Mhm.
nature.
And you
Those
wouldn't
are
want that in a
no,
conventional home.
no. And you have to understand coming from the government side and coming from actually even a lender side, that's a collateral that they're, not only are they trying to help the veteran to make sure that they're
Mhm.
protecting them, but they're protecting their collateral as well, that they're
Yeah.
lending money on a house that it's not going to, fall
Mhm.
apart.
Mhm. True. True. I'm glad you got into the myths. And um, is there anything else from I would say myths, but that are misconceptions, things
Sure.
people may not understand? Anything you want to leave people with today?
Absolutely. People are always saying, God, it's a veteran, a VA loan. It's going to take long to close. It
Ah,
doesn't take long at all. It's the same amount of time. In fact, I closed a VA loan in 21 days.
wow.
Generally speaking, the biggest holdup, it used to be, the appraisers that they send out are VA approved appraisers. And they
Yeah.
do have 10 days instead of 7 days to bring back an appraisal.
Mm.
But depending on the business, on how busy it is and time of the year and stuff, I
Hmm.
get them back very quick.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it doesn't
So
take any
that's
more
not
time.
unusual.
It's not unusual. It doesn't take any more time to close a VA loan than it does a regular VA, regular conventional or a
Okay.
FHA loan.
Okay.
Um, there's another myth is that appraisals are always coming in on the low
Short.
side,
Mm.
and uh, the ratios are showing that at least 99% of all loans coming in from VA appraisals are coming in at or above value.
Okay.
All right, so it's not
So that's not even true.
that's not even true. These are
Yeah.
old myths, like anything,
Well,
stuff
things
that sticks
probably
around,
change and
and
improve over
yeah,
time,
they
right?
have, they
So
certainly have.
right, right. So I think it's a great opportunity for any homeowner that's about to sell their home to understand there's a lot of options that your potential buyer might have for funding,
Exactly.
for financing that. So don't sell yourself short if
Ex-
you're a seller by not
ex-
accepting
ex-
someone that has a VA loan.
Exactly. And there's another myth is that, that the VA, that the veterans have low credit scores. And
Oh,
on average, they have actually a 709 or above.
wow.
And think about it, they come from a very disciplined, situation in the military. So they're going to be a little
Hmm.
bit more disciplined
Their
in their
finances.
finances. And not, it's
Not
not
everybody.
100%, not everybody,
Hmm.
but their scores are on average higher. And we'll do loans as low as a 580, but actually even lower than that because the VA is not strictly based on debt to income ratio. It's based on residual income. So what does that mean? Let's say that we had a debt ratio of 50%, and that means that if you had made $10,000, that your total payments for your house and your debt that you have in your credit report could not be over $5,000. Okay.
Mm.
Now, for somebody that's making, let's say, $15,000 a month, and they
Mm.
have a
A
higher
month?
ratio than
Oh,
they're
okay.
making, they came out of the service,
Hmm.
they used their training from the
Hmm.
military, and they're making a pretty good income.
Hmm.
And I've done loans for a lot of veterans that make substantial income. They're engineers.
Hmm.
They've come out of the service with a great, like I said, background that's helped them in education.
Hmm.
But let's say their residual income, instead of being half of that, it's still $5,000 or $6,000 a month that they have once they've paid all their debt off.
Wow. Yeah.
So their ratios can be higher than the
Hmm.
50% because their residual income is high enough for what they feel that they can afford to take care of the house and all their payments.
Okay.
So
Okay.
those are some of the other, I guess, myths that
Right. Right.
that they
Right.
don't qualify. But it is probably the most rewarding loan I've ever done, and I've done a lot of a
Hmm.
lot of loans, different types. I've done some great ones for a lot of different people and friends and family. And but the most rewarding loan was when I first got in business. This young man had come back from Iraq, and he had was injured, had lost his leg, and he was in, had a prosthetic leg.
Mm.
Actually, he had two prosthetic legs, and he came in with his two little daughters to qualify for a loan. And
Wow.
let me tell you, I know I worked and worked and worked and did everything possible till
Mm.
we finally got him in position to close that loan. And those little
Wow.
girls would come up to the office once a week to come in and bring documents and bring stuff, and I'd send somebody out to get them food and cupcakes or whatever. But let me tell you, when we closed, I literally almost had tears in my eyes because it was,
Wow.
I was able to do something, watching these little girls and watching their father and their mother, with
Mhm.
excitement because they
Because you
got into
knew
a
you were
house.
making a difference.
Yeah, yeah,
And in fact, one is what you're here for, and I know they appreciated that. But that's why these VA loans are available for people. They're making the ultimate sacrifice.
absolutely.
And so I appreciate that they have this option, and maybe it should be even better, but I appreciate that they do. And I appreciate you for doing this video so that people understand the myths are gone. VA loans is a viable opportunity for the seller to have a buyer that can finance that home.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
our partnership, Better Homes and Gardens, Gary Green and Gibraltar, is another example of why you want to have a good brokerage that has these kind of partnerships and can help sellers and buyers in all dimensions.
It's a
Right?
win-win for us. It's a
Yep.
win-win for the seller and the buyer who's a veteran.
Yep.
Everybody wins, and that's
Yep.
what we like. We like to win.
We do. We do. Thank you, Gil.
It's been a pleasure.
Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Have
Bye
a
bye.
good day.
Thank you.